Hello, everyone, and welcome into the latest edition of Low on the Go. It's your sports fix for the week. We are going to talk today about a major city in this country, a major sports team. In fact, Forbes magazine has issued the decree that this city, this team that we're about to discuss, is the richest team in professional sports in this country. And they're stirring things up, and it's not in a good way. And I'm also going to talk about the one person in the organization that needs to approach the problem and do something about it. Of course, I'm talking about the Dallas Cowboys. I'm old enough to remember when Dallas was really relevant year in, year out. Remember the days. Those of you that lived and watched football back in the late 70s, early and mid 80s, you saw the importance of the Dallas Cowboys. They are the richest tradition. They've been noted as America's team over the years. Everybody watched them every Sunday. They were televised all the time. You saw the stoic, never-changing expression of the fedora-wearing head coach, Tom Landry. You saw Randy White, tough as nails, gritty, blue-collar, defensive guy. Danny White, one of the purest form quarterbacks there was back in the day. Ed Too Tall Jones. These guys were innovators of defense back before fantasy was even relevant. I mean, this was just a grinding, tough team, and they had that reputation all through the years back in the day. Dallas had that mentality. They were tough, and they always displayed it. There were great rivalries. Their games against the Redskins were some of the greatest games of that era. You know, games against Philadelphia and Randall Cunningham through the 1980s. Just a tremendous, tremendous team. Well, things have gone downhill over the years. You have Jerry Jones that has come in. Jerry Jones came in 1989, and he took over the ownership and the general managership of the team years after that. And Dallas hasn't really been relevant too often during that time. Yeah, they played in some Super Bowls, and they won some Super Bowls in the 90s. But since 1999 and on to the current time, they've not been into the playoffs very often, and when they have, they don't go very deep. They just haven't been a successful, consistent team over the years. And you look at what's going on now, and it is a total farce. It is a total joke what's going on. Can you even begin to tell me how we are accepting? If you are a Dallas Cowboys fan, how can you look at this organization right now and tell me this is anything that resembles a real football team? Is it anything that even looks promising? You know, many of us old school football fans want to see these guys that come in and really make a difference. We want to see guys that are going to grind it out, guys that are never going to ask to go to the sideline. If they've got a nick or a cut or a bruise or a bone is sticking out, we want them to suck it up and go back in and play the game. That's the way it's supposed to be. That's the mentality you're supposed to have as a football player. But when you have the mentality of some of these players today where you feel like it's okay to be violent, to be over the top, to try to get reactions out of people by doing unsavory things, doing really stupid things, that puts a black cloud over every organization when that happens. And it's done it to the Dallas Cowboys. And let me tell you right now, Greg Hardy does not deserve to be playing football, period. I don't care if it's with Dallas or anywhere else. That is the subject of this discussion. Greg Hardy does not deserve to be doing anything around the football arena. He has no business playing. He has no business being involved. For those of you that may not know a little bit about him, he came in to the NFL in the 2010 draft. He came from Ole Miss. He's played a while. He played at Carolina. He was let go from Carolina because the owner there, Jerry Richardson, decided, hey, we're doing the right thing. He even said, we do the right things here. He let him go. He didn't sign him back. He had players on his own team begging him to bring Greg Hardy back, and he wouldn't do it. He went against the flow. He went against what was popular, and he made the right choice. And he let that young man go. He let Greg Hardy go, and Carolina has become a playoff contender ever since it happened. Carolina is 6-0 right now going into this next week's game. That wouldn't happen if Greg Hardy was there. I'm not saying he's the only reason, but when you've got someone that is just a total disgrace to humanity almost, someone that just can't get the picture, can't ever seem to get along with anybody. You've already seen instances of it this year. You've already seen him slapping the clipboard out of the assistant coach's hand. You've already seen him go to lengths to argue with Dez Bryant. And let me just say for the record, I don't want Dez Bryant being the person that feels like he's got to go up and confront Greg Hardy. I think that's like sticking two pieces of dynamite one beside the other and seeing which one blows up first when they both have a lit fuse. That is ridiculous. Dez Bryant has no business being the one man on that team that confronts and gets in the face of Greg Hardy. It is not productive at all, and it does nothing. There is one man on this team, one man on the Dallas Cowboys squad. He's a player. I think he should be the one, if anybody, that has the guts, has the fortitude, has the balls to get in the face of Greg Hardy and put him in his place. And I'm not saying it to create division. There's already division. There's already a black cloud over this team. Do you think Dallas is 2-4 for a reason? Yeah, they've got injuries. Of course they've been impacted by Tony Romo, Dez Bryant, other injuries on the defense. Sean Lee's been in and out of the lineup. Yeah, there have been things that have happened. There's no excuse. Those things have happened. But when you have someone like Greg Hardy involved with your organization, I just think it casts an immediate black cloud of filth and disgrace on your campaign. And there's nothing you can do about it when the owner of the team, Jerry Jones, talks about wanting to sign him long term and calling him a leader. How in the world do you expect, if he is a leader, how in the world do you expect anyone to follow that? Why in the world would you want anybody to follow that? I don't want my players acting like domestic violence is a good thing. Greg Hardy beat his girlfriend, and he had a bunch of guns spread out in his home when he did it. He's got a different mentality. There is a violent chip on his shoulder and in his head that he can do whatever he wants to do. And folks, as long as he's a part of the organization at Dallas, it's a totally different day, a totally different environment, and they're not going to succeed. They're already 2-4, and they're going to have a rough time getting through this. You've got an owner who has come in and, as I said a moment ago, wants to give him a long-term contract, wants to keep him there, claims he's a leader. He actually says that with a straight face. Jerry Jones, you're an embarrassment to this league. You, my friend, all you can do is say that you're running a sideshow circus. It is ridiculous what you're doing. You're pumping up this man's ego. You're giving him what he wants. You're fueling his belief system because you're paying him money. You're signing him to a contract. You're keeping his ego fed. And you're also feeding his violent tendencies. Do you think that he's actually going to get through and not do anything else? If you think that, you're foolish. You're setting him up for failure, and you're setting your organization up for a failure at the same time. And Jerry Jones, if I could say it to you, I think you're a total disgrace for doing that. I don't respect you at all. You don't represent the old-time, traditional Dallas Cowboys squad and mentality. You can call it whatever you want to. It's ridiculous. It shouldn't be happening, but because of the love of money and the love of success, it is happening. You know why it is happening? Because Jerry Jones is desperate. He is desperate to have a team that will win and go into the playoffs and win. He's not had it lately. He's not had it in about 15, 16 years. He is so desperate right now to put some winning combination together, and he is avoiding everything that is good and right about the game and putting in this monster and hoping he will carry the team on his back. That is not the mentality that Tom Landry and Danny White and the other players from the old 80s squad of Dallas meant for that. Do you think Roger Staubach meant for that to happen? Do you think any of the former greats, do you think the good of Emmitt Smith meant for this organization to be desecrated like this? It is completely preposterous what is going on right now with the Dallas Cowboys. Now, let me get back to the one person that I think has the fortitude and the guts to get in Greg Hardy's face and call him on his bluff, and that's Mr. Jason Witten. Jason Witten, and I'm not saying it, folks, just because he came from the University of Tennessee, but if you've watched Jason Witten's career, he has been the greatest representation of that same old school mentality. He comes in, he plays his game, he puts his body on the line, he gives his all to play for the Dallas Cowboys. And I hate to even think that Jason Witten's illustrious career is going to be set back by some piece of trash like Greg Hardy. It's ridiculous. It is ridiculous to even think that what a man has worked for and everything he's tried to help build with this team is going to be brought down by the ego and the mentality of somebody like Greg Hardy. It is ridiculous. Now, here's the thing. There doesn't seem to be a solution in sight, and it's going to be sad. It's going to be real sad. What is going to happen from here? We're in the middle of a very busy season. There's been a lot of injuries. There's been a lot of turnover. There have been coaches and position coaches that have been fired already in the midst of this season. What's going to happen here with Greg Hardy? What can Dallas do when the owner, the general manager, believes in somebody that has cast such a nasty spell over the city, over the team? Who wants to be a part of that? I would not want to be a part of something like that. And I'll bet you there are many players, I'd say there's a few players on the Dallas team right now playing for the Cowboys on the current roster that don't want him around, that don't want him on the team. They know what he represents. These guys keep up with everything that goes on. They know what goes on their team. They know what goes on in the news. They're fully aware of this man's capabilities. And many of them probably don't want to have anything to do with him. But because of their owner and because of maybe certain other people that back the decision, he's there. And because he's a good, he leads in sacks sometimes. He gets a lot of sacks, gets a lot of defensive play. He's a great player. He's got ability. But do you sacrifice ability for his mentality? What are we doing here? What have we gotten away from? And how far away have we gotten away from it if we're embracing someone like this? I just hate to see it this way. I mean, the Dallas Cowboys stand for hard work, legacy, tradition throughout the many years. And to just see that it's resorted to something like this, that this is the result, this is what we've got right now. Let me tell you something, folks, and I'll just be quite honest. Now, I can look back at the 20, 25 years ago, 30 years ago, and see the greatness of Dallas. I'm telling you, you young fans, when you're coming up 30 and 40 years down the road, I guarantee you won't look back at the current Dallas Cowboys regime and have those same kind of high hopes and nostalgia. You're not going to look back and wax nostalgic over something that's this gaudy. And it's going to get worse, folks. If Jerry Jones won't do anything about it, who do you think will? It won't be Jason Garrett. He's nothing more than a glorified puppet. He's not going to do anything. He doesn't have any balls. He won't do anything about it. Des Bryant may get in his face and say something, but Des Bryant may wind up on his back when he does that again. I guarantee you Greg Hardy won't do anything like that to Jason Witten. And Jason Witten will get in his face. He's done it to Des Bryant before. There's a fine line, folks. You want to see passion. You want to see guys with attitude. You want to see guys that have a chip on their shoulder, but you want them to do it during the game. You want them to do it within the confines of the game, not to a domestic partner, not to their wife, not to their girlfriend, not to any significant female family member. Because, folks, I don't care how you spin it. I don't care what you say. It is never excusable for a man to lay his hands on a woman at any time for any reason, not in such a way that it construes and communicates violence. That's it, point blank, bottom line. You can't do that. It's a shame that you have to be told. It used to be built in the minds and hearts of men to never, to have the chivalry, to have the decency within them, to never lay their hands on a woman. Women are to be treated like royalty. They deserve it. And you actually deserve it too. You deserve to treat a woman with respect, so they will treat you the same way back. And what we're doing these days, with the violence and the things that are going on in our society today, it spreads into our sports big time. Now let me tell you something else. These other guys that have been in the news lately, people like Ray Rice, Ray McDonald, Adrian Peterson, I actually believe that they're pretty repentant of what they've done. I don't think you'll see Ray Rice or Adrian Peterson do anything like this again. I can't say the same thing for Ray McDonald. Greg Hardy is a loose cannon. He is a roller coaster with no supports holding you inside. And we don't know how it's going to finish, and that should scare everybody to high hell right now. What's going to happen? It's not going to be fun to watch, folks. It could get very, very drastic. And that's a warning sign we should all take hold of. I don't think you've got to be a part of the Dallas Cowboys organization directly to realize there is a huge problem on our hands. And yes, it reaches out into society, but right now it is crippling the Dallas Cowboys because they will not win the division this year. I believe the Philadelphia Eagles are going to right the wrongs and get back. But this is a travesty of justice. And unfortunately, we don't have anybody right now that's got the guts to pound the gavel. I want to thank you for listening. Please drop off your comments at lowonthego73@gmail.com. I appreciate you listening, folks. Have a great evening. We'll see you next time. Low on the Go.